Good afternoon, 49er faithful, or good evening if you are here in Indianapolis, as I am right now. Pretty excited to be coming to you from Indianapolis. I am in the hotel room. I hope that the internet is okay. I can always switch up to the phone if it gets bad, so let me know in the comments. Right outside my window right here is a gorgeous view of Lucas Oil Stadium. Very nice choice in venue. I didn't actually know how lucky I had gotten in choosing this particular motel, if you will. We're talking 3 stars here. This is not high end. This is convenience over comfort right now. But it is extremely close to the stadium, extremely close to the convention center, and I am loving it so far. I've set up my little mini studio in here right now. You just have the desk set up that you're seeing right now, but I do have an interview station here as well. And the hope is that we'll get a little panel going of a couple of other 49ers content creators that are in town. Talk to a couple of the major beat writers today as well. Potentially, we'll bring in one of them into this little studio. But I'm pretty excited about it. Pretty excited to be here. Pretty excited to be sharing this experience with you guys. I wanted to get into the comments as per usual. This is a mailbag episode. So I'm going to share a little bit about the combine, about the first day, about the experience. And I definitely want to interact with all of you in the comments as per usual. But I do have a few previously submitted mailbag questions that I will be getting to, although they're fairly current topics. And so it's all relevant to what we're doing here in Indianapolis. Yes, looking out at the comments just to make sure. All right, I'm going to get into it in just a bit. Ellis10, one of our sneakerheads on the channel. Hello, it is good to be here. Good to see you, Ellis10. Also asking, how's Indy treating you? Very well so far. I love the people here. I mean, such a friendly city, such a good setup. The hotels and everything so convenient to the convention center. I'm so thrilled to have gotten some media credentials with my freaking name on it. I can't tell you what it means to have NFL media credentials with my MFing name on them. Feels pretty freaking good. Charles Thurman coming in. Word up, Rob. Word up, Charles. How you doing? GD5 asking for some intel. Want to hear your intel on Marcus Jones, Rob, as well as Troy Anderson. The combine has started, but today was just coaches and front office folks. So no players as of yet. All of that launches tomorrow. Make sure to tune in. I will definitely have constant updates for you guys. I'm looking to get some B-roll footage as well so that you can see the layout of this entire complex that they've set up here. It's pretty remarkable what they've put together. I'm going to get into my impressions of it, just first day impressions in just a little bit. E. Kim coming in. Hey, Rob, what's up? E. Kim, good to see you. Asking if I have gotten to the good food yet. E. Kim, not yet, but I am going to hit up some good food. Definitely going to St. Elmo's at some point this week. No question about it. Got a couple of other recommendations as well. All right. Super Gremlin, appreciating the drip. You know, you got to look the part when you're around other NFL media folks. And that's what I've been attempting to do, is make sure that I bring the air of professionalism that you all would expect of someone representing the 49er faithful. Appreciate it. Super Gremlin Productions. Rob with the great setup as always. This is temporary. This is just me in the hotel room, got my lights set up. But I mean, I did pack when Jason Aponte and Jordan Elliott saw the setup. They were like, dude, are you kidding me? You brought a freaking studio with you to the hotel? Yes, I did, because I'm going to be broadcasting here all week. Ellis10 looking clean. Appreciate that. Appreciate the compliment. That Niner guy coming in, Rob, with the inside shoe on the combine. How is the buzz at the combine? The buzz was very real today. I mean, it was just a certain energy about it. And I'm going to use that comment as a springboard to get into my thoughts on the first day of the combine. As per usual, hey, if you enjoy the content, please do consider hitting that like button. It helps me amplify this message and get this combine activity out to more and more faithful. Very excited to bring it. I would say overall, I was very impressed. Excuse me, got to get a beard hair out of the mouth. It happens. It happens, folks. I walked in and just was overcome by the sheer magnitude of everything. The people have been very kind, loving Indianapolis so far. Can't wait to get some phenomenal food here in town. I'm freaking starving right now. So I'm actually really excited to wrap up this show, get on with Jackhammer, knock that out, and then go get some amazing freaking food here. I love the location of my studio. It's really great here. It's temporary, but again, right outside of this window, I have the lights of Lucas Oil Stadium. It's the perfect walking distance over there. Really grateful that I chose this particular location. And then you walk into the convention center. So nothing today was held inside of Lucas Oil Stadium. All of it was right across the street, literally right across the street from the stadium in the Indianapolis Convention Center there, which is enormous in both size and scope. I feel like I've walked many miles so far today in just going to pick up the media credentials, in going to find the layout of all of the podiums in there. And then you walk into that room and it is just camera crews everywhere, podiums set up one after the other. So close, in fact, that as you're recording the audio from one podium, you're actually catching the audio of another coach or another GM that's, 15 feet away from whomever it is that you're attempting to get audio from. I was watching Trent Baalke today and attempting to get down that audio. I knew that my 49er faithful would be interested in that audio. And you're catching glimpses of the front office individual that's over there as well. To me, it was cool to be amongst the stars. I mean, you're sitting there in the freaking audience, standing next to people like Matthew Berry. I'm sitting there with my iPhone trying to record Trent Baalke or Cliff Kingsbury, and I'm next to Matthew Berry, who's got his iPhone out doing the exact freaking same thing. It's just sort of wild to see these people that you're so used to seeing on television, in front of the camera, in real life, in their own environment, and to be a part of that, process and really feel like you're one of the group. I mean, I just have to say, I really felt like that was a pretty special experience for me personally. I've seen coaches that I've watched on television for years in person. Bruce Arians was there, phenomenal. Andy Reid was there. Again, just bigger than life stars, but now you're seeing them for the first time. I'm seeing them for the first time in person. Had a highlight moment for me. I'm there recording something, got Jason Aponte and Jordan Elliott close by, and they're having a side conversation, and myself and Josina Anderson are trying to film the actual coach that's up there. Josina turns around and shushes Jason Aponte and Jordan Elliott. That was a highlight for me, and I know it was for them as well. Because who gets shushed by Josina Anderson? That just is. It's something to tell the kids about. That was a phenomenal incident. I laughed my ass off. I think they did as well. Definitely something that I will take home about this experience. Had a great conversation with Matt Mayoko in picking his brain about the likelihood of Jimmy Garoppolo and the trade and potentially getting released. And I'll share that in a little bit, because some of these mailbag questions are in regard to Jimmy Garoppolo, as you might expect, with some of that news that came out today about the shoulder surgery. I had a great conversation with Jennifer Chan as well. David Lombardi. I was just impressed by the number of folks that I saw there, the number of folks that were extremely approachable, and just sort of this environment of peers that exists there. And again, just felt sort of special to be involved and viewed as a peer, so to speak. Chris Royal coming in with a super chat. Got to get to that. Glad you were able to get there. Good things come to great people. Keep up the awesome work. Chris, I really appreciate that. I do. I mean, this has been one hell of an experience just to this point. just to this point, and we haven't even gotten into the meat of the combine yet. I mean, this was just basically first day, get your press passes, get the lay of the land, and get a couple of interviews underneath your belt. The Niners interview with John Lynch will be tomorrow. So everything is still in front of us here. But again, those conversations with Matt Mayoko, David Lombardi, picking their brains about Jimmy Garoppolo and the fact that he has, in almost everyone's opinion, played his last game for the San Francisco 49ers, despite any news that may have come out here. The executives that were available today wanted nothing to do with questions about Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm sure that has something to do with Jimmy Garoppolo being under contract with another team and that being tampering, and the legal tampering window has not opened yet. And so these execs have to be very careful with what they say about Jimmy Garoppolo, but they didn't seem to want to touch that subject with a 10-foot pole. I know specifically Jordan Elliott got pretty well shut down by the Steelers exec, and as you would expect at this point. Again, just seeing some of these faces that you see on NFL Network up close and personal. Ian Rappaport, Josina Anderson, Matthew Berry, Field Yates, Andrew Siciliano, Albert Breer, a bunch of guys that I recognize but can't quite put a name to, right? You recognize the face, and then they pass you by, and you didn't have time to realize who it was. To this point, what is clear is this event is very much about networking. For those that work within the NFL, I mean, you see people coming together that obviously haven't seen each other since previous NFL events, previous combines, folks getting together for dinners, getting together for meals, coming together for conversations. Just for myself, as someone who is new to this, who hasn't had the opportunity to rub elbows with many people, having 3 or 4 quality conversations, getting a couple of pieces of contact information. This to me has been an extremely beneficial experience to be here at the combine. It really feels like, I honestly feel like a very small but meaningful part of the NFL community by being here and by being a part of this event and being there amongst all the folks. Definite shout out to Jason Aponte and Jordan Elliott for, number one, just for being here, but for educating me and sharing their experience with any previous events that they have been to, sharing their knowledge. And they are definitely two guys that know more damn movie quotes than I do, and that's saying something, because I can certainly pull out my fair share of movie quotes, but I cannot compete with Jason Aponte or Jordan Elliott in that regard. Again, just pretty damn cool to have my name on this freaking NFL press pass. I'm pretty jazzed about it. And in saying that, I want to say thank you to everybody watching, to everybody who has ever liked a video on my channel, anybody who's ever watched a video on my channel. If you subscribe, if you've joined the channel, like all of these things, all of this support that has been offered for me providing you my insights, my opinion, it is that encouragement, it is that support that gave me the courage to come out here to the combine, to come out here without really realizing what this event was going to look like, without having a clear idea of how I was going to set up the studio, without having a clear idea of how I would cover the event, without knowing how I'll get my live shots, without having someone here to act as a cameraman. I still had that courage to come out here to this event because of the support that I received from all of you, because of the encouragement, the kind comments, the chat, the dialogue, the emails, the tweets, all of that support comes into me feeling compelled to come to this event. And again, it has been a very special one so far. All right, I have some previously submitted mailbag questions. I'm going to get to those, but as always, this is a live mailbag, so put your live mailbag questions in the chat. Just type in @Rob or @Rob Schuh so that I know you are talking to me. All right, let's get into it. Elliston with the compliment. Rob, you look clean, sir. Appreciate that. Luke Walsh as well. If the shoe has a combine fit, watch it. Love it. Oh, look at this. Karthik has a new channel. At Rob, I'm Karthik, by the way. I started a new channel. Congratulations, Karthik. Super Gremlin Productions. I love it. Here we go. E. Kim, Rob, the combine is nice, but it didn't matter to Tom Brady. Yes. Quick question at Rob. How far is it from Portland to Indy? It was 2 flights, 2 hours each, one to Denver and then Denver to here. Not so bad. Not so bad. Eric Sully coming in. Don't forget about us little guys, Rob. I would never forget about anybody in this process. Mark coming in. Cheers to the media pass. Cheers indeed. Cheers. That Niner guy. Did Lynch talk today? No, Lynch is tomorrow. I will have full video of that and I will upload it to the channel just like I uploaded the Trent Baalke video to the channel today. GD5, gotcha. A bit tongue-in-cheek there. Thanks, though, Rob. Glad you're out there. Hey, absolutely. Yes, Super Gremlin, I did hear this. At Rob, did you hear Kyle and the coaching staff won't be going to the combine? Something to think about here, man. Yeah, the coaching staff won't be there, but the scouts and John Lynch will. I wonder if it's a shift in some way to acknowledge that it is John Lynch and the scouting department that has done a better job in these drafts. I doubt that that's the case, but quite honestly, I don't think we're missing out all that much with Kyle Shanahan and the coaches not being in town. Just saying. Raphael 5629ers. Hi, Rob, and everyone. Welcome. All right, here we go. Eduardo at Rob. You know you made it when you get credentials. Love the work, Rob. Appreciate it. Absolutely appreciate it. Here we go. 49ers amateur draft scout. Looking great, Rob. I hope I get a pass to next year's combine. I'm telling you, it is worth it at this point. BK from the Bay. At Rob Schuh. Hey, did you have any clue that Jimmy's shoulder was bad enough for surgery? No, I had no idea. And if I had to guess between the two, the thumb or the shoulder, I would have guessed that the thumb was the bigger injury. And yet, as it seems, the thumb will not require surgery, but the shoulder will. Very interesting in that regard. Looking for the at Rob Schuh comment. E. Kim coming in with the restaurant recommendation. Rob, Tomlinson Tap Room for really good local beers on tap near you. I will definitely add that to the list. Good to see everybody, as you said. Internet is good. I'm glad to hear it. Ellis 10, Rob, I feel like we are there with you. The details are awesome. I appreciate that. E. Kim, Rob, did you ask Lombardi about his 2020 comments about Jimmy being better than Tom Brady? I did not. But if I get him into the room, I will ask him that. I certainly will. Rob Smith, one of our sneakerheads. Congratulations, Rob. We are all very proud of you. I am thankful for all of you and the support that I have gotten from everybody here on the channel. Really appreciate it. Ben V, at Rob, what's your 40 time? You know, I'm sure it was a 4.4 back in the day. No, I don't have a 40 time. I have a quarter mile time. I can do the quarter mile in just over 10 seconds, but that's in a car. I'm going to say my 40 time is probably about 6 seconds. I'm going to say it's slow. No, I think I could go under 5. JM at Rob Schuh. How do you get invited to the combine? Just got to reach out to the NFL and apply for those press credentials. Sean 951 at Rob Schuh. No Shanny, bummer. That's okay. I'm excited for Lynch. Did you tell Baalke he screwed the Niners? He had positive things to say about the 49ers, and I thought that was interesting. I give him credit. For saying positive things about the San Francisco 49ers. All right. I am jumping into some previously submitted questions here. This one's about the Jimmy Garoppolo news. How does this surgery, my bad, kick the camera. Can't kick the camera. How does this surgery news affect the Niners' ability to trade Jimmy Garoppolo and get the best draft compensation? This one comes in from Prayer Warrior _Niner from the Faithful Boys podcast. Shout out to the Faithful Boys podcast. I enjoyed being on there the other week. I will say this. According to the report, it didn't affect his trade status. So I interpret that to mean that he is still going to get moved by that March 16th deadline when the new league year opens up. So I accept that it didn't impact his trade status. But I am finally, and this is a guy who has been saying Jimmy would be worth a second and a fourth for a long time, since November and clear through up until now. I'm saying that I'm finally concerned about Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value after this report. His trade status, no, I do believe he gets traded. I don't think that they will have to cut him. In speaking with Matt Mayoko today, he was very convicted on that fact that Jimmy Garoppolo will get traded. But he did go so far as to say, hey, if a trade does not materialize, that he believes they will release Jimmy Garoppolo, and underscored the idea that he doesn't think that's the likely way this plays out, that it should be a trade that occurs. But that simple fact that he believes Jimmy Garoppolo could get cut, to me, is big news. And I do think that, to me, again, teams, it mentioned specifically in this report that teams were already aware of the injury. But this idea that he's getting surgery and won't be able to throw again until potentially early July. If I'm a team trading for a starting quarterback and I'm giving up premium assets, I'm going to want to ensure that that surgery heals correctly. And so this leads me to believe that these are teams that may not have had a very high value on Jimmy Garoppolo to begin with, that these are teams that may not be looking at giving up a significant asset here, that they may be looking at giving up a, mid-round pick and not one of those earlier ones. To me, this makes me believe that maybe we're looking at a scenario where Jimmy Garoppolo gets moved for something more like a third rounder, whereas before I was very convicted that it would be a second and a fourth, or at a minimum, a second round pick. The second question comes in, just a continuation, people thinking about the Jimmy Garoppolo news. Are we still confident in getting a good deal for Garoppolo with the news of him needing shoulder surgery? Do we see a Carson Wentz type of trade compensation to it? This is where it gets interesting for me. So yes, I believe that his trade value may get impacted by this news, that a team's going to be reticent to give up a second round pick for a quarterback that they cannot ensure is healthy at this time. I do think this increases the likelihood that we get a Carson Wentz type deal. And what does that mean? That means that we're talking about potentially a conditional pick for next year's draft, something that starts out as a third or a fourth round pick, but could move up to a second round pick, depending upon that team making the playoffs and or Jimmy Garoppolo's playing time during the season. So if he plays 80% of the snaps that season, potentially it goes up to a second round pick. That could be a way a team gets around this concern about Jimmy Garoppolo and needing to heal from the surgery that it looks like he is going to have in the very, very near future. All right, I want to get into your comments as well. Still have a few previously submitted questions from the mailbag. Emmanuel coming in with the @Rob. Again, type in the @Rob or @Rob Schuh. That way I know the comment is at me in the comments. @Rob, support comes because of your positive attitude, your talent, your content, its quality, your ability to express criticism and opinions. It's a well-deserved support. Keep it up, Rob. Man, Emmanuel, I just appreciate reading that. I mean, it means a great deal to me to have that support and to be out here doing the good work. I hope this is just the start of many, many things. @Rob, who is the one prospect that you're the most excited to see? If I've got to be honest, it is quite honestly, it is probably Boye Mafe is probably my biggest look right now. That to me, I'm still looking at edge rusher. I still have him as someone that might be available when we come and pick. I've got a couple of guys that have been suggested to me as potential edge rushers, but the one that fits into that pick 61 range seems to be Boye Mafe. And so I am excited to see how he tests out. Art the Collector, @Rob Schuh, what's Jimmy's trade value now? Again, I thought it was a second and a fourth. I gotta bring that down a little bit with this news. I gotta say, I max him out at a 3 now. Unless this is further smokescreen by the organization and it blows over quickly. Yeah, I guess that this hurts the trade value for the 49ers because you can't see him throw after the surgery, and that's rough. Sean9519ers, one of the sneakerheads on the channel. At Rob Schuh, I am guessing the 49ers have a conditional trade figured out and the surgery was demanded by the team. Otherwise, they would have done it weeks ago. That's an interesting thought, that they waited until something was, not written down in stone, but agreed upon. Once they had come to terms on the trade, it could certainly be. Eduardo, at Rob, who are you most excited to see at the combine? Edge rushers, safeties, and interior O-line. To me, it's going to be interesting because, it's about the events that you get access to. So that's still a little bit to be determined as to how close I'll be to some of these and, what type of access everybody gets. Quesadilla Thrilla at Rob, thanks for always answering questions from us. Hey, I appreciate your questions and the time that you take to come in and have that dialogue. Mikey at Rob, with the current quarterback market, I think Jimmy will draw a possible first. What's your thoughts? That's the only way that Jimmy gets that first rounder is if it becomes a complete bidding war. You are looking at a scenario where potentially Aaron Rodgers stays in Green Bay, Russell Wilson stays in Seattle, Kyler Murray stays in Arizona. Deshaun Watson has a lot of things still going on, and maybe teams stay away from him for the time being. Carson Wentz may stay in Indianapolis. If none of these quarterbacks move, Jimmy becomes really the only big domino, and then all it takes is a couple of teams to express interest. Archie coming in at Rob. Congrats, brother. Well-deserved. Looks sharp. The cut and beard looks sharp. Keep it up. Appreciate the compliment. All the time. Always appreciate the compliment. At Rob Schuh from Sean9519ers. Balky only talk good about Jed and the Yorks. That's it. Yeah. Well, I wouldn't have expected him to talk sweetly about Jim Harbaugh after the way in which that broke down. Looking for those at Rob Schuh comments. Kim Adams coming in at Rob Schuh. So what do you race, Rob? Because under 10 is a quick. So a 10-second car that I have driven is a Dodge Demon, 2018 Dodge Demon. Yes, should do a 9-second quarter mile, but then you're supposed to have the roll cage and the helmet. And if you run a sub 10-second, plus you got to have the slicks. So yes, a low 10-second quarter in a 2018 Dodge Demon. Some of the most fun I have ever had. No doubt about that. Luke Walsh coming in at Rob Schuh. Can Lynch make a conditional trade with Garoppolo? If he doesn't play, it's a fourth. If he does, it's second. Yes, he can. You can do it on a percentage of snaps played. I mean, honestly, you can write in whatever terms another team will agree to, as is true in all contracts, so to speak. Mikey at Rob Schuh. Do you think Jimmy had the last laugh by going for the surgery to screw the Niners? I'm not big on conspiracy theories, and I thought that the Niners and Jimmy Garoppolo stayed fairly friendly throughout, but the timing of this is strange in my book. I could see what Sean951 suggested, which is that the Niners and another team have come to some preliminary terms, and part of their condition was, hey, we'd like Jimmy to go get the surgery now so that he's ready to throw in early July. It could be that he got a second opinion, a third opinion, and at that time decided it was what's right. It could be that his doctor said, hey, we're going to wait 4 weeks, see how this thing progresses, see if it heals. And if it doesn't, then we'll go the surgery route. Quite honestly, there's a lot of things that could have transpired in between, when the injury was sustained and now when he's getting surgery, that it's all speculation without further information from Jimmy and his camp. Ellis 10 at Rob, are there any positions or players that you will be paying extra attention to at the combine? Yeah, the 3 positions I'm going to be paying most close attention to: edge rusher, safety, and interior O lineman, with a nod towards defensive backs as well. Eddie G at Rob, why do you think Jimmy waited till March to get the surgery? I don't know. I can't see the advantage for him because For him, he also wants to get traded to an ideal situation. And you would think that this slowed down the process for James Garoppolo. Last Second Sports, Jesse Naylor coming in. At Rob, have a blast, brother. Extremely excited for you. If Petrie is there, let us know if he can actually play safety. He's a strange study playing a hybrid role in college. That is a great question, Jesse. I will add that to the list of what I might be able to ask Petrie if I do come into contact with him for those interviews. It's, these interviews are an interesting setup. It is, the national reporters and those most familiar with the organization tend to crowd most closely up to the coaches and to the front office personnel. And then it becomes a game of who's willing to boisterously shout their questions, right? I mean, if you are willing to speak over those next to you, you can get one of those questions in there. And while today it didn't feel relevant for me to do so, I look forward to the John Lynch interview where I can get that voice going and say, "Excuse me, Mr. John Lynch," and get one of those questions out there. So we shall see. I will definitely have that for Petrie as well. Mark wants to say, look at Calvin Austin, the third Memphis wide receiver. Bay Area baller at Rob. Keep an eye on wide receiver Romeo Dubes, 6'2" and can fly. We need one of those. We need a speed threat, Bay Area baller. Yes, we do. Rob Smith, one of the sneakerheads coming in. At Rob Schuh, have you gotten an opportunity to explore Indianapolis yet? What are your impressions? Nothing so far. Went to breakfast this morning with Jordan Elliott at a place called Yoke. It was good, man. Good food. Walked down there. Crisp, cool air. It's a nice temperature that allows you to wear a sport coat or a nice jacket. I always appreciate being able to accessorize a little bit. But it's been good. I'm looking forward to going out to dinner tonight and getting a real taste of Indianapolis, maybe seeing a couple of these spots where these GMs and front office folks gather and have alcoholic beverages, because I'm guessing their tongues will loosen up a little bit when they do that. BK from the Bay. At Rob, do you think the 49ers signed Marcus Mariota as Trey's backup? I have him as number 2 on my wish list, right behind Tyrod Taylor. So I hope they do. My guess is Tyrod Taylor and Marcus Mariota both are going for those fringe level starter roles, right? They potentially have that type of talent where a team might see them as someone who could compete for a starting role. I'm that 49er fan, a sneakerhead as well. At Rob, I'm finally glad to see you live again. LOL. Glad to see it. Been working nights. Glad you're here for the live. Glad you are here for this event. Ooh, I just saw. I got to go back into the comments just to see. I can't find it. All right. Well, I see from one of our commenters here an interesting one. Ben V coming in with just Tesla. And I asked Ben V because I used to work at Tesla. So I'm wondering, did we work at Tesla together? Ben, inquiring minds want to know. Or is that someone that's here at the Combine? Or do you drive a Tesla? Let me know. Rob Smith. Rob is ready to join Dominic Toretto's team. LOL. Yes. It is all living life a quarter mile at a time, Rob. A quarter mile at a time. I'm that 49er fan at Rob. Congratulations on being at the Combine. Happy for you. Thankful. I'm glad to be here. That Niner guy at Rob Schuh. I have a list of guys, but Brian Cook, Donovan West, Marcus Houston, Colby Bryant, Dylan Parham, and Maffey are realistic options at 61. That Niner guy, I am putting all of those names in my file of people to look at when the interviews come around. Thomas, I have a Thomas question in here that I'm getting to in a little bit. Actually, right after this. At Rob Schuh, while you're there, will you keep an eye out for secondary players and do a Rob's big board when you get back out west? Yes, I will. I definitely will do that. That Niner guy with more names coming in at Rob Schuh. Forgot Sam Williams' edge from Ole Miss. Really like him. I will definitely add that up. Here we go. Last Second Sports at Rob. Just a heads up. Trades can be negotiated now and agreed upon. They just cannot be made official until the new league year. Tampering season doesn't apply to trades. Good clarification there, Jesse. I wonder why the GMs are so reticent to talk about it at this point in time. Art the Collector. At Rob, do you think Jimmy waiting because he doesn't want to be traded and wanted to hurt the market? I do not believe that. With Jimmy Garoppolo and his closing statements at the end of the year, he seemed very done, that those were his farewell to his teammates type of closing remarks. No, I do not think that Jimmy Garoppolo is intentionally tanking anything at this point. All right, getting back into the previously submitted questions here, going to go with this one here. All right. Oh, I lied. I thought I was going to Thomas, but Thomas, yours is coming up soon. Here we go. If the Niners broke the bank at the secondary position, what's your gut say? Safety or cornerback? This is considering the other position gets a value upgrade instead. This one comes from Matt S. Matt, I love this question. I had to bring it in to the mailbag. To me, if you're going to go big on one of the two positions, to me, it's safety. And I'm coming around to this idea. To me, it is a ball hawk safety. I'm hearing that there's an idea that maybe Tart doesn't come back, that maybe the 49ers look to move on in that regard, that maybe Tart is looking to move on in that regard. Maybe he chooses to go somewhere else. If you're going to replace him, to me, you replace him with someone who has a history of forcing turnovers. For everything Tart does well, for forcing turnovers is not one of them. To me, you complement that elite pass rush with someone who can take away the ball, force those turnovers. To me, that means going big at the safety position. And I think that the 49ers could go that route in free agency. There are 7 or 8 safeties that are at Jaquiski Tartt's level or, somewhere around there. Not a lot of them. Several of those names I would consider to be an upgrade. And I do think that there are several players that could be available at that 61 slot. In particular, if the 49ers choose to address edge rusher in free agency instead. If they brought on Dante Fowler, who's been released, I could see them then switching to bringing in a safety at that 61 spot. And part of this line of thinking comes from communications I have had with Tom here. Tom J brings in considerable insight every time he comes to the table. I look forward to having an opportunity to sit down with Tom in person the next time I'm in Seattle for a game. Tom, I'm looking for that cup of coffee, buddy. Here's what the question was from Tom. I'm with you. Pick edge at 61, best player available. But here's the thing. Sacks, 5th for the 49ers. Forced fumbles, 1st. Interceptions, 26th. For the rush to pay off, they have to add ball skills. Therefore, what are your thoughts on Gilmore in free agency or the home run swing, Kittle to Miami for Xavier Howard? To me, again, I agree with Tom on that principle of needing to add some players who can take advantage of this pass rush and force those turnovers. It is sort of absurd to have as good of a pass rush as the Niners do and not be able to force more interceptions than they do. Quarterbacks make poor decisions when under duress. The San Francisco 49ers put quarterbacks under duress more frequently than other teams in the league. There should be a correlation there. There is not. I'm not on board with the trade Kittle idea just yet, but I get it. I mean, there's the Bill Walsh school of thought that you want to trade players a year before it's actually time to trade them, that it's better to trade them too early than too late, better to get some value than no value. But to me, with Kittle coming off of an average season where, again, he got dinged up a little bit, I'm just not sure of the compensation that you're going to get for him right now. And I believe he is primed for a bounce back season. It could be different. And let's be honest, there is a ton of dead money that sits on the Niners books if they trade him this year. To me, next year, depending on what happens in this season, it could make more sense. But again, that one, I just can't touch it just yet. The Gilmore choice intrigues me. The flexibility to play both slot and outside corner. He's older, so a bit cheaper. He's coming off of an injury, so a bit cheaper still. It's not recurring injuries, so I don't have a huge amount of trepidation about an injury history with Stephon Gilmore. Richard Sherman saying that he might be interested, that between San Francisco and Seattle, those were his two choice destinations. He has 27 career interceptions, but that is over a long career. And so he's not a huge ball hawk, but he's a consistent quality corner. So I am on board with the Stephon Gilmore target in free agency. I would also target DJ Reed. I would absolutely have my eye on DJ Reed as someone that the 49ers could potentially bring in. All right, I want to get back to your comments live in the chat before I finish out with the last two previously submitted mailbag questions. Getting into it, Sean9519ers at Rob Schuh. During the Lynch questions, ask him, why did he turn down Amazon? That's an interesting one. It might lead toward him talking about staying with the Niners long term. The key for me in asking questions is, how do you create such an open-ended question, one that evokes passion, one that gets them talking? Because these guys, honestly, they are giving you as little information as possible. It is crystal clear. When you watch them, they have rehearsed answers. Oftentimes, they're not even answering the question that was directed at them because they're sort of dodging it to begin with. It is challenging to get any real information out of them in these pressers because it's them at a podium in front of 35 shouting individuals. They are guarded. My hope is I bump into some of these individuals outside of that space, because that's the advantage of being here, is having those conversations. In particular, if some of these people have imbibed 1 or 2 or 15 alcoholic beverages, and yours truly will be very, very ready to take advantage of that situation. Ryan Starr at Rob Schuh. Thoughts? Trade second and a fourth for Xavier Howard, fifth and a seventh, using Jimmy G trade capital to get best player available with the rest of the draft picks. That's interesting. So if I understand this correctly, Ryan, you're talking about trading a second and a fourth for Xavier Howard and a fifth and a seventh in return, and then trading Jimmy G for draft capital and getting best player available. I like that substantially more than I do trading Jimmy straight up for Xavier Howard, because you're getting more in return in that particular scenario. I don't think that that's necessarily a realistic set of assets that you would get back, especially after the surgery news today. To me, that's a big wrench in this whole thing, unless, as someone suggested earlier, unless it is a new team asked that Jimmy Garoppolo get that surgery now, and they already have a trade penciled in at this point. Ryan Starr coming back in at Rob Schuh. By the way, big ups on the combine pass, making big moves. Appreciate that. Rob Smith, again, one of our sneakerheads at Rob Schuh. The combine is a lead into the draft. Are you going to be able to make the draft this year? I believe it's in Vegas. Yes, I already have my hotel room and my flight, because Vegas, I do not need much of an excuse to go to Las Vegas. Vegas, I have comfort with. Vegas is it's like SoFi Stadium for the Niners. It's not actually their home stadium, but they're very comfortable there. That's the way I feel in Las Vegas. I've done a lot of work in Las Vegas. I've traveled there quite a bit. GD5 at Rob. DeMarco Jackson is a real speedy linebacker out of Appalachian State. Please report back on this guy. Could be a steal. That would be great. Are you thinking of him for a special teamer or potentially someone to replace Dre Greenlaw if he gets traded for a 6th round pick? I'm that 49er fan at Rob. Trade Kittle. As I said in answer to that question just a moment ago, I wouldn't. I would not. I understand the reasoning that you feel that Kittle may be on the cusp of a downward trend, that he is injury prone in some regards. To me, he's not coming off of his best season, and therefore you're not going to get considerable value. I believe he's headed for his greatest statistical season coming up. Just my gut. That Niner guy. At Rob Schuh, if Baltimore lets him walk, I really like Deshaun Elliott. He could be a really good start at $5 to $7 million a year. I'll be interested to see who ends up in free agency. Right now, it is all hypotheticals. Sean951 at Rob Schuh. Jimmy G said he wants to go to a winning organization. So the Steelers and Indy only fit that bill for quarterback right now. Washington, Carolina, etc. Nope. Curious what 49ers are telling Jimmy G of what teams are viable. I think you could argue that Washington is in. Ooh, I kicked my camera yet again. I got to stop that. I got to stop stretching my legs. I think Washington is a borderline team in that they're in the NFC East, very winnable division, and they were predicted to be a lot better going into last season, but then were unable to get the quarterback position settled. They have an elite defense. They dealt with some injuries. I would shift Washington to that category of places Jimmy would be willing to go based on what he said there. Steelers, Indy, Washington, Denver. I think all of those would fall into that category of teams capable of winning now. How about them Niners? At Rob, my dream picks for our second and third round picks are Jalen Petrie and Romeo Doubs. Jalen can get on the quarterback really fast for a safety position. Doubs is a legit speed return threat. I love the idea of Jalen can get at the quarterback really fast. Yes, I like the idea of Petrie for sure as a player of interest, and I love the idea of a speed wide receiver return man. If we do not draft a speed wide receiver return man this year, I will lose it. Lose it. Because we just have not invested in special teams. It's pretty ridiculous. Joe Stull coming in at Rob. Looking good, Rob. Appreciate that, Joe. Appreciate that. Quesadilla Thrilla at Rob. I'm going to start a petition for a YouTube cast on Sports Bay Area with you and Jason Aponte. I would be happy to guest appear anywhere with or without Jason Aponte, but definitely with Jason Aponte. I'm down. Papa Dude, no. Rob Smith with the at Rob Schuh. Have you and Jason Aponte seen each other yet at the Combine? Maybe you can do a show together from Vegas. Yes. There, check on Twitter at the Left Shoe. There are pictures of me, Jordan Elliott, and Jason Aponte all hanging out together. We were there all day today. They were hanging out here in the room prior to the Combine. They've gone to their Airbnb. We're going to meet up later to go grab dinner and try and find out where everybody is having drinks so that we can eavesdrop and get some inside information. I'm that 49er fan. Rob, we need another Debo. Hey, what? Maybe we go after one in free agency. Maybe Cordarrelle. Maybe. Art the Collector with the question. At Rob, do you feel that Trey is ready? I do. There's nothing that leads me to believe he is going to fail. I see the same talent that I saw on film. I saw the progression from weeks 5 to 17. I was talking to David Lombardi about this at the Combine today, and he noted the same thing, that you're looking at significant progression from the game plan against Arizona in week 5, where it felt like Kyle Shanahan wasn't confident in Trey's ability to throw the ball down the field consistently, to take the shots over the middle that he does with Jimmy Garoppolo. But in week 17, yes, against a fairly weak defense, but still an NFL defense, nevertheless, you saw considerable progression. And so it is those signs that leave me very, very optimistic about Trey Lance. Mikey, at Rob Schuh, watched Pat McAfee, and he had Peter Schrager on. He said that he will be at the Prime 47 early and Kilroy's for after hours to meet all the coaches and agents. Just a heads up, which you know. Yes, this is the one that I'm taking a picture of this, Mikey, because I needed those names. Prime 47 was one I was aware of that people are talking about as like the late night spot. St. Elmo's is another one where it's like that's the steakhouse that you go to have dinner. Apparently, Prime 47 is the bar that is a little more of a spot to go drink after that. And I was unaware of Kilroy, so that is good info to have. Ellis 10 at Rob Schuh. Let me know what you think of North Dakota State wide receiver Christian Watson, 6'5", 208, currently ranked at 118. I will keep my eye out. Emiliano at Rob. Oh, that's at Rob Smith. That's not at Rob Schuh. Bullpup 33. Rob, where is the mug? The mug is safely at home. I couldn't risk another mug getting broken. Only when the mug is broken for sacrifice, as it was prior to the Packers game. Only then is it suitable to travel with the mug and risk breaking it. Right now, I got to do the zoom in on the credentials. But I don't have the Zoom camera anyway. So, it's just one of those webcams that it's good, but it's not the same. It's not the same. Sean9519ers at Rob Schuh. What did you think about the Speak for Yourself video I sent you in regard to Trey Lance? Or did you watch it? I did watch it. And to me, what I saw there was Marcellus Wiley and another individual talking about the readiness of Trey Lance and calling it as they saw it, saying he's not ready. And I respect that as their opinion. However, Marcellus Wiley seemed to indicate, I have heard from people when somebody is legit. I heard it about Mahomes, and the people who have told me that have never been wrong. I have heard from people when somebody's a bust. And when I hear that about a candidate, they have to this point never been wrong. He then never says that anyone said one way or the other about Trey. He just goes into, I haven't heard Trey's that guy. Therefore, my assumption is he's not that guy. So it seemed like a logical leap to me. I never heard Marcellus say, I've gotten inside information from someone saying he's not that dude. So to me, it was further speculation was what I got out of it. BK from the Bay at Rob, you've hit the big time getting your NFL credentials. You deserve it. You have great insight and content, and you're very informative. Love what you do. Keep up the good work, Rob. BK from the Bay. Appreciate that. I most certainly will keep it up. I'll be here all week. How about them Niners? At Rob, Cordarrelle Patterson or B. Berrios. Both could be awesome return guys. Patterson takes pressure off Samuel. Berrios has reliable hands and is pretty fast. You have a preference. I like the idea of Cordarrelle Patterson out of those two because of the fact that he is a dangerous returner. He has that size and could take some of the weight off of Deebo Samuel. That would be my primary concern. You're about to give Deebo a huge bag of money. Please protect the man. Take some of those carries away from him. Somebody asking if I need a good spot. Wrong state here in Indiana, I'm afraid. Quesadilla Thrilla at Rob. At least do a fake drink of the cup with the side eye into the camera. Is that the Kermit the Frog? Yeah, here, we'll get this a little bit of. There you go. That's it. That's all you get. That's all. I'm kidding. If I had the mug, I would gladly do it. Rob Smith at Rob Schuh. What are your thoughts on all the coaching defections? Is this something we should be worried about? No, I think it's a combination of factors. I am now buying into this idea that there probably were people who were on the roster, on the coaching staff that were deeper into Jimmy Garoppolo's camp. And that now you're making the shift to Trey Lance. You want people who are 1,000% on board with Trey Lance. I also do believe that the Mike McDaniel piece and some of the coaches that went with him were coaches that Kyle Shanahan was willing to let go of. I think you meet with your coordinator and say, listen, I want you to be successful. Here's a couple of guys that if you can take with you, I won't squash their lateral moves, because any of those coaching moves that were lateral moves, Shanahan could have blocked, and he didn't. I also think some of them were upgrades, much like the Embry situation. That was clearly an upgrade where the 49ers thought that they could bring in Anthony Lynn as the assistant to the head coach. And I would agree that seems like an upgrade to me as well. Here we go. Sean951 at Rob Schuh. Your trademark look should always be wearing a 49ers left shoe at the combine. That would be awesome. That would be pretty cool to put that in there. Let me tell you. All right, let me get to the last couple previously submitted questions. Hey, if you are here watching the video, I am live in Indianapolis at the Combine. I'm going to be bringing it to you all week. Consider hitting the like button to help me promote this video. Consider subscribing to the channel and hitting the notification bell. Then turning on your YouTube notifications so that you know when I go live, because I'm going to try to do a live walking tour of that stadium and that convention center that is right outside of this window. getting into some of these last questions. This is the one I promised earlier from Thomas. Thomas, if you were waiting, I apologize for the delay. Would it further divide the fan base if Jimmy has immediate success with his new team and Trey struggles with a Super Bowl capable roster? Thomas, I have to say yes, undoubtedly. And this was a longer question from Thomas where he indicated, hey, Jimmy's looking to go to a team that's capable of winning right now. It's possible he goes to a team that is just in need of a quarterback. It's possible that they are a playoff caliber team. What happens if Jimmy Garoppolo goes there to a competent head coach, a very capable team, and plays well for them and gets them to the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game, or the Super Bowl? And then on the transverse of on the other side of that, let's say in this hypothetical, Trey Lance comes in and plays like a second-year quarterback. He struggles a little bit, and perhaps the 49ers miss the playoffs. In that hypothetical where Jimmy goes to a team and is successful, Trey Lance starts and struggles a little bit, will it polarize this fan base? Absolutely. Absolutely it will. I mean, it's crazy, but in some ways, I think it doesn't even matter. In some ways, regardless of what Jimmy goes on to do, regardless of the level of success that Trey Lance has immediately, we seem to live in a freaking country where it's no longer about truth. We're about picking sides, apparently, and then arguing from that side whether we have facts on our side or not. And to me, it's about wait and see. Wait and see, and then make a judgment from there. Wait until you have some evidence about what Trey Lance is able to do with this team, how he's able to play, the progression he's able to make. And with Jimmy, how much of his potential success with a new team is because of something he's doing or because that team was a ready-made contender that he got traded to, and that's why they were interested in a player like Jimmy Garoppolo. So to me, it's highly disappointing that we are in this situation. But yes, I think there's no doubt that it would further divide the fan base if Trey struggles and Jimmy has success. I don't think that should speak to the move at all. I think we should be having patience with Trey Lance and really evaluating him after he's had a full 2 seasons to start. I do get that we're a playoff caliber team, and all we need from him is Jimmy level play in order to get back to where we were this year. I think he's capable of it, but if he doesn't execute that, I'm not going to be willing to crucify him for it. Last previously submitted question before I get back to your comments in the chat. Again, hit me with @Rob or @RobSchuh in the comments. Do you see the Niners targeting another edge with one of their 2 first picks? And who are some of your edge rushers that you like? Feel free to wait until you see all these guys work out. Obadiah coming in, Obadiah P. I'm going from recommendations at this point, and I will have an updated list once I have seen all of these candidates in person and done more film study. But the 3 targets that I have my eye on right now, and big shout out to that Niner guy, Tom. Several people have reached out to me, and I've had a couple of these names hit multiple times. Again, I'm looking at edge rusher specifically for 61. If we get that second rounder for Jimmy Garoppolo, which I'm no longer as bullish on, then I would look at how do we get both a playmaking safety and an edge rusher. But right now I'm looking at the edge rusher at that 61 spot. And Boye Mafe, to me, out of Minnesota, 6 foot and 6'3.5" tall. He's 255 pounds. On the Athletics website, they have him listed on Dane Brugler's big board at about 75. I have heard that he's climbing, but you could see him as being available there at 61. Arnold Bikati, probably not going to be there, ranked as 34th overall on Dane Brugler's big board, but he is the edge out of Penn State, 6'2", 250, an explosive guy. Definitely has talent. Definitely someone I'll have my eye on. Definitely somebody I'm going to be watching here at the Combine. But my guess is, unless the Niners move up, that he's off the board for them. And then Nick Bonito out of Oklahoma, a little bit undersized, but not terribly, 6'3", 240, and seems to have the production And a lot of people are ranking him as a late second or a third round pick. So should be available for the 49ers. Those are the three I have my eye on most of all in the edge class. Again, though, hit me at 49ersmailbag@gmail.com with your suggestions of players you would like scouted at the combine. Any names that you have interest in, throw them my way. 49ersmailbag@gmail.com. All right, I want to close out by getting into your comments here. I appreciate it. Joe Stull, one of our sneakerheads, much appreciated. I hear a lot of trade Kittle talk due to his receiving performance this last year. He did drop a few passes, but he also had to block almost all game because Jimmy G was hurt, inconsistent, and Kyle trying to run 40 times a game. Joe, this was an interesting statistic that I saw. That was my assumption as well, that Kittle was held into block. In particular, I thought the splits were going to be more staggering between when Mike McGlinchey got injured and when Tom Compton came in. I thought when you went back and looked, you would see Kittle running a larger percentage of routes early in the year and then fewer routes as Tom Compton was in, and you had to use George Kittle to chip on those blocks. But I'll tell you what, George Kittle's run blocking percentages have remained reasonably consistent throughout his career, and I was shocked by that. I do think that it was more of a question of not pushing the ball down the field. You remember George Kittle's best statistical season was primarily with Nick Mullins throwing him the ball. And so my hope is that the true answer to unlocking George Kittle yet again, yes, is to have a more dominant offensive attack that isn't as reliant upon 40 rushes a game. But it is getting a quarterback in there that's willing to push the ball more consistently down the field. So to me, the answer has to be Trey Lance. If Trey Lance does not unlock greater potential in George Kittle, then I do think you have to explore the trade scenario a bit more vigorously, because it is fair to wonder if at this age, George Kittle will begin to deteriorate. He is a, larger bodied wide receiver, tight end, obviously. But that's a lot of weight on those knees, ankles, and he has considerable lower leg injuries to this point. Now, a lot of those are contact based, but if you don't see an uptick in production, you could see the 49ers attempting to move on. The dead money drops considerably next year and even more so the year after that. So I think it's most likely that Kittle is with the Niners in 22 and 23. I think if you're trading him, it comes after the 23 season, but just my gut on that one. All right, looking for those at Rob and at Rob Schuh questions. Sean951 at Rob Schuh. I don't think Shanny wanted to go to the combine because he already has a trade lined up for Jimmy G. Knew he was getting surgery and didn't want to field those questions all week. That's an interesting thought. I could see that. I tend to take Coach Shanahan at his word when he says, hey, we're here assembling the coaching staff and watching film. All of the scouts and the general manager are there at the combine. To me, that seems to match with what's here. And I would rather that Shanahan not give his insight on a lot of these picks. I mean, let's look at Joe Williams there. Caesar coming in, have fun in Indy. I am having fun here in Indy. It is a blast so far. Mikey back in at Rob Schuh. Couple more spots from PM show with Schrager is St. Elmo's, Patron Saint, Tony's, and Harry and Izzy's. Get that info. Look at this. I'm taking some pictures of that right now because we are going to those spots, people. Sean951 Niners. I believe this is in regard to, hey, if Jimmy did well with his new team and Trey struggled coming in after Jimmy's traded. Sean951 says to that, it would not divide the fan base. It would divide the team, as most love him. I do agree that you cannot bring Jimmy Garoppolo back for that reason. I think once he's been traded, the team will move on from that. I don't think the fans will. The team, the players, I think do understand this is a business. Fans, some do, a lot don't. I think we as fans are more emotionally invested, whereas the players understand the business side of it. Elvis, hello, Mr. Schuh. Hello, Elvis. Welcome. Tony, Rob is smart. I appreciate that. I don't know that it's true, but I'll take it. All right, we've got another super chat from Rob Smith coming in at Rob Schuh. Thank you for all that you do for your subscribers and fellow 49er fans. Thank you, Rob Smith. I almost called you Rob Schuh. Almost said, thank you, Rob Schuh. Thank you, Rob Smith. I honestly can't imagine something I have more fun doing. This is a dream scenario for me to be here at this combine is a dream come true. It's a bucket list item. It's something that I won't forget. Just to meet up with some of these people that I've followed forever, to shake Matt Mayoko's hand was a cool moment for me. I mean, I realize that might be trivial to some, that maybe players or coaches or GMs would mean more, but quite honestly, I mean, Matt Mayoko, I've been following him for a long, long time. And to have a real down-to-earth conversation with him at the combine about the 49ers, where he's speaking to me almost as if I'm a peer, is pretty special. Pretty special indeed. All right, looking for those at Rob Schuh comments to close us out on Art the Collector. At Rob, shouldn't we target another receiving tight end to protect against another Kittle injury? 2 would be good. Yes, and the Niners have shown a willingness to go after some of those more elite second tight ends. They flirted with a significant number over the past couple of years. I do think it's fair to assume the Niners will bring somebody in as a second tight end, because they have a couple of guys on the way out in free agency there. Rob Smith, at Rob Schuh, I can see it now. Drinks with Lynch and Peters tonight. Next week, Rob and Jason Aponte are part of the 49ers front office. Hey, I'd be okay with that. I would be all right with that outcome. How about them Niners? At Rob, a guest on Grant Cohn's show thought Jawan Jennings might make a good tight end. I like the idea. What do you think? I kind of love him as our third wide receiver, but I get the comparison. He's big-bodied. He blocks very well. I could see that. Not a very fast individual. Sure, if you brought in another capable third wide receiver, to me, you're still needing that body to fill the other role. They could be very similar roles, a big-bodied wide receiver or a big-bodied tight end. I'm definitely good with that. But I did think that he had enough success as the third wide receiver that I might leave him there and then attempt to fill that second tight end spot through free agency or the draft. That Niner guy, at Rob Schuh, another edge name, Josh Pascal, really good on his feet and played really fast. I will add that to the list. Little beastie. At Rob Schuh, what's your opinion on the trades for Kirk Cousins? Has anybody been traded today? I haven't heard any rumors about Kirk Cousins. The last I read was that he would most likely be back in Minnesota, that Minnesota was interested in having him back. But again, I am a little bit out of the loop because I'm here. Mark is with me, Joe frickin' Williams. Yeah, keep Kyle Shanahan in Santa Clara. Tony, Nagatoni coming in at Rob Schuh. Have you seen any of the 49ers scouts around? Curious what Adam Peters is up to. No, I didn't see John Lynch or Adam Peters around today, but none of them were scheduled to talk. So I wonder if maybe they were meeting elsewhere. William Bennett, looking clean, my guy. Appreciate you, William. You know that I do. Man, I wish I had my mug here to cheers you on that one. Abel, Kyle's still probably in Cabo. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather be there too. Sean 951 Niners. Yeah, but the team was winning all but the Super Bowl with Jimmy G. You send him packing off an NFC Championship game appearance and we regress, and Jimmy G gets to the Super Bowl with the new team, it will get into the team's head. It could potentially. It could, but I don't necessarily see that. Again, I think they would be happy for Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think they see the business side of it. But I get your point there, Sean, for sure. Ellis 10 at Rob Schuh. I know it's common, but do you utilize Yelp when you are in a new location for recommended restaurants and bars? It's been really good to me in the past years of traveling. Give it a try. I love Yelp, but E. Kim has come through with so many damn restaurant recommendations that I almost feel like I don't need it. Vicky coming in at Rob Schuh. Keep an eye on Drake London, wide receiver USC. Vicky, I am taking note. Drake London, check. William Bennett. The shoe seems to be fitting you well, Rob. I appreciate that, William. I appreciate that. I can't wait to have the Thursday call-in show. We're going to be doing that here from Indy. Art the Collector at Rob, any thoughts on the Major League Baseball situation? Only that it is delaying the start of my fantasy baseball season, of which I am the champ from last year. And so I'm a little upset about that. I want to defend my title. Quesadilla, Thrilla at Rob. How will the Niners shore up the coaching losses and fortify the special teams? Thank you. This is a great one. I don't know who they bring in for special teams, but I hope it is either an established coach or an up-and-coming coach. No more of this, oh, well, I knew this guy since back in college, like with Richard Hightower. Invest in special teams, 49ers. Invest in them through free agents, draft picks, bring in a speed wide receiver that is also either a gunner or a return man. Again, invest in special teams. And it starts with the coach, either a savvy veteran who has significant experience or an assistant from a coach that has a savvy veteran, an up-and-coming individual. I am telling you. Ellis 10 doing the good work. Yo, let's try to get to 100 plus likes, faithful. Hey, I will just throw it out there. It does help me out. Any of you watching, if you enjoy the content, and I do say if, because if you don't enjoy it, I don't want the like. But if you enjoy the content and you enjoy seeing me out here in Indianapolis, help me out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. Go to the YouTube notifications, turn those on too, because then when I go live tomorrow, the next day, here in Indianapolis, you will know when I hit that button. Here we go. Sean 951 at Rob Schuh. Do you think Kyle stayed back because he's interviewing the coaches for all the open positions on the offensive side of the ball? Odd, they mostly departed, so Kyle must have a new vision. I think that is a reasonable take, that he has somewhat of a new vision, that this is going to be a game plan centered around a mobile quarterback, and that he wanted to move on to people who are more comfortable designing that with him. I do think some of the coaching losses were because of Mike McDaniel. Some were players or positions that they thought they could upgrade at. But to me, it definitely could be that Kyle Shanahan has more important, more pressing matters to get to, staying there in Santa Clara and filling out that coaching staff. Little Beastie 8977 at Rob Schuh. What are the Steelers going to do about the quarterback situation? Will they finally see Rudolph as a starter? I'm maintaining my premise here that the Steelers trade for Jimmy Garoppolo. And I had said a second and a fourth. The news today has me thinking I need to rearrange that. I still want to say a second and a fourth, but I'm swapping it out. I got to say, with the surgery indication that Jimmy is going under the knife now, I'm going to back it down to a third rounder from the Steelers. I still think they want to win now. I still think Jimmy Garoppolo adds more than Big Ben did at the position. And I would love that fit for Jimmy Garoppolo and for the Steelers. I don't think that we are going to be in any bidding wars to get a first-round pick. To me, with the surgery news, the hope of a first rounder basically goes out the window. I'm still going to remain optimistic for the second rounder, but I am adjusting my expectations such that I only expect the 49ers to net a third round out of it. And I'm good with HR suggesting, hey, a third rounder would get us a cornerback or an interior offensive lineman. Potentially, you're drafting Alex Mack's replacement with that third rounder. And I am fine with that. I would be absolutely okay with that. All right, I'm going to be going on with Jack Hammer on his program in a little bit. I will be back on tomorrow. Should be on at 4 or 5 p.m. Follow me on Twitter to get updates this week at The Left Shoe. I am looking to have Jamal on the program tomorrow. Very excited for that. I will keep you guys posted via Twitter. Keep an eye out. Thank you for joining today's broadcast. And I don't have a ways to cheers you, but as always, cheers, Niner Faithful. I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully I get some good intel tonight from some of these execs, GMs, and head coaches out and about in Indianapolis. Live from Indianapolis, I'm Rob Schuh. I will see you again tomorrow.